This rally in Bitcoin is insane. We've seen 12% in the last 24 hours in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is leading this rally. It's appreciating more than Ethereum. It's appreciating more than the aggregate of altcoins, as in Metal and Total 3. It's leading the pack. Now, why is that? I think it's again market manipulation, something we have seen several times this year. Year to date, Bitcoin went up by roughly 50%. And what we can see is that the price appreciations usually happen very, very quickly. Here, look at this. This is almost like a step function. It shoots up, it goes sideways. It shoots up, it goes sideways. And the declines are rather slow. Then it shoots up again. Now, why do I say these are likely large players that do this? It's because of two reasons. First of all, these things happen when nobody else is trading. It happens normally when Asia is asleep and when the US is asleep. Okay, so not a lot of retail trading happening. So why would then the price increase that much? The second reason is simply the pace of how fast this is going up. When the prices shoot up like this, how likely is it that it's retail? Retail has a lot of wallets of comparatively small amounts, right? So for retail to push up a price, you need basically the number of wallets to expand, right? The number of participants that are bullish, they need to kind of like, the message has to spread, so to speak. So usually when retail is pushing up the price, it kind of ripples up and then it accelerates over time, goes better, the price goes higher and higher. This is different to when whales buy. When they buy, they deploy a lot of capital all at once, pushing the price up. And they might have certain interest there, right? So they might, for example, want to liquidate certain short positions, right? People that bet on falling prices. They might want to do this. They also simply just might want to increase the overall market cap of crypto. So when whales push up the price, it happens faster than when it's retail. And this is happening since beginning of the year. So this is manipulation. That being said, just because it's manipulation does not mean that the price has to come down again. Just because whales bought in doesn't mean they have to sell again. And that's because we've seen very, very similar price action in the past. Let's look at this long term, right? Let's go to the 1 week candles and let's look at the price development in 2018. Let's actually go to the daily. That's maybe better. So what happened during 2018? We had our crypto winter first. Okay, let's zoom out. We had our crypto winter, right? 2018. We went down by roughly 82%. And then we simply went sideways. Now, how did we come out of that crypto winter? When we get in here, right, how did we recover from this? We see a really large day here, right? This one went up by 16-17% on a single day on the 2nd of April 2019. Now, was this suddenly retail waking up and saying, hey, let's all buy Bitcoin, push it up by 19%? Probably not, right? We had simply just sideways trading action and then suddenly a breakout of 19%. What I think happened is retail probably thought that we are going to continue the sideways trading range because attention on crypto here was really, really low, right? There was no YouTube subscribers, there was no crypto views, there was very little talk around crypto. So people thought, okay, this is a dormant market and we're simply just continuing to trade sideways here. But this is not what happened, right? We broke out and we broke out fast. So again, whales potentially manipulating the price. Now, why do whales move Bitcoin here? Why don't they manipulate the price of smaller altcoins? I think the reason for this is the illiquidity of Bitcoin. When the Bitcoin market is dormant, you've got these hardcore believers that simply just hold onto their Bitcoin for the fundamental reasons, right? For the reason that Bitcoin has less inflation than fiat. Over the long term, it will appreciate. If it's now coming down, no problem. I dollar cost average in, I buy more and more. I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin. I simply just hold on to it. That's what happens in these bear markets, right? When you're in the bottom of a crypto winter. What you then see is that Bitcoin is comparatively illiquid. right? The order books on centralized exchanges are relatively thin. You don't have a lot of Bitcoin deployed on the liquidity pools in decentralized exchanges. You simply have a lot of Bitcoin on cold storage. And this has now even accelerated with the FTX collapse, right? Everybody takes off the Bitcoin of those exchanges. So it's all in cold storage. And so just with a little bit of purchasing during non-active times, you can push up the market cap of Bitcoin a lot. And so when you've got the Bitcoin holdings simply just in cold storage at an all-time high, that's when the price sensitivity is the highest. What you see over here is how much of Bitcoin has not moved from a wallet for at least 1 year. Okay, so this is the 1 year HODL wave. We see when there's here, for example, 60%, when this is pretty high, when 60% of Bitcoin haven't moved for at least 1 year, that's when Bitcoin is illiquid, and that's then when the price can rally, right? We also see this over here in 2020, right? Bitcoin pretty illiquid. That's then when the price rallied from 9K all the way to 60K. Now we are again at an all-time high here. Bitcoin is very illiquid. People are not selling their Bitcoin. And that's then when the whales, they can create a new floor. It's also when the smart money, right? The smart retail continues to dollar cost average in, and when then they make all the money with the next rally. The fundamental question is always, do you think that Bitcoin will still be around 3, 4, 5 years from now? If you think the likelihood is very high that Bitcoin is still around in 5 years from now, and you also think that Bitcoin's inflation rate is lower than the inflation rate of fiat, which should be obvious, right? Fiat gets printed like 10 up to 20% per annum. Then over 5 years, it's basically a written rule that Bitcoin has to appreciate, right? It simply just is scarcer than fiat. The relationship between the ever-expanding fiat versus the much slower expanding Bitcoin gets more and more in favor of an increasing Bitcoin price. And so when you've got those hardcore believers that simply don't sell just because Bitcoin went down by 70%, that's then when you've got this core floor that can create the next rallies. And that's very important too. This is a Bitcoin idiosyncratic move. So of course we do need some tailwind from traditional finance. We do need the Nasdaq to go up as well. But even if we divide the Bitcoin price by the Nasdaq, this is still going up, right? This still found a floor. Let's look at this hourly, right? This is an increase happening mainly on the Bitcoin side. And it is also an increase that where Bitcoin is outperforming Ethereum. Here, this is Ethereum relative to Bitcoin. It's going down. This is total 3 versus Bitcoin. It's also going down. The altcoins in aggregate, right, as measured in total 3, they are underperforming Bitcoin because the altcoins are also more liquid. They get traded more often. So if you deploy the same amount of money in Bitcoin versus a very liquid altcoin, you have more effect with Bitcoin. So you do see this also in terms of Bitcoin dominance, that Bitcoin dominance tends to increase whenever we come out of a bear market. It tends to go up. It's the same in 2018. People hold on to their Bitcoin, their dollar cost average into their Bitcoin, and the very first 100, 200% gains that we make from the bottom are mainly made in Bitcoin. We are not getting rewarded for taking on more risk in altcoins when we just come out of a bear market. You're mainly rewarded for holding onto Bitcoin, and that's what we see again. And that's the message of this video. If you hold Bitcoin, don't be afraid of the day-to-day movements. Don't be afraid that this rally is over now. This rally might stop once we see this line here going down again, right? The 1 year HODL wave. Simply go here to look into bitcoin.com to HODL waves and select everything up to 1 year. When this is going down, when the long-term holders are selling off, that's maybe when the rally stops. Until then, I think it's very, very likely that we simply just continue those whale pumps. We're going to see pumps that are pushed by large money, where most of retail doesn't benefit from it. You want to be the retail that benefits from this. Make sure you're appropriately invested. And even if we do see short-term moves to the downside, don't be worried, right? This is a long game. The longer of a time horizon you have, if you buy now and you simply just wait for 3, 4, 5 years, you should be okay. If you buy now and you freak out because it drops 10, 20%, then of course I can't help you, right? You need to be able to stomach some kind of volatility to get these kinds of returns. And still, the risk versus reward at the current point in time, I think, is not bad at all. If you have long enough of a time horizon, simply just buy and ride those waves properly. You sell when all the long-term holders are selling, and you buy when all the long-term holders are buying and not selling. And that's still, even after we have come up since beginning of the year by 50%, that's still the case. The long-term holders aren't selling. They are likely rather going to sell once we hit 50, 60, 70K, once we are close to those highs again, right, to the all-time high. Before that, I don't see that coming, and thus the supply versus demand equation is simply just in favor of the demand. There will be more buying than selling. That's at least how I personally approach this market. I'm not selling my Bitcoin. I continue to dollar cost average in, and I am not afraid of a certain short-term retracement. It might happen, it might not happen. I still think Bitcoin is very likely going to outperform any other asset class in this year. It's going to outperform tech stocks, it's going to outperform altcoins, it's going to outperform Ethereum, simply because we just came out of this bear market, and that's where now all the action is. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to join our Telegram group as well, right? We very often simply just discuss what's currently going on. We also discuss various altcoins. If you are still into altcoins, you need to be very, very selective. So feel free to join the Telegram group. I also answer questions there. Looking forward to see you there. And of course, looking forward to see you in the next video as well. Bye-bye.